Hey, I'm Nicky Numbers, professional poker player, and today I'm going to show you some really cool chip tricks. We're going to start with the chip roll. What you want to do is get some small amount of chips, like 5 or 6 is usually good, and you want to start them in one hand, and then what we're going to do, we're going to start with one hand and roll them to the other hand, and then be able to easily pick them up. So the way you do this trick is you start with your chips in your right hand or your left hand, depending on which hand's dominant. Say you're right-handed. You start with your chips in your right hand, and you want to hold them between your thumb and your index finger. And then what you're going to do is you're going to slowly release your thumb from the end so that one chip falls off, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then the last one. And the key is the angle of your hand. All you're really doing is releasing the chips. So I'm just holding them tight and snugly here and then lifting my thumb the slightest amount so that it rolls to the other hand. The part you're going to have to experiment with is the position of your hand, because if you do it too straight, they don't go far enough. If you do it too low, they could go really far. So you want to have like a nice 45-degree angle in your hand, ideally, and that's going to make the perfect roll. So try to get like a 45-degree angle and then just release from the thumb up and just practice hitting your other hand. Once you can do that, you'll be able to roll them all from one hand to the other. So another cool trick I'm going to show you is what I call a chip slinky. Remember a slinky where it goes from one step down to the next, down to the next? Well, that's kind of how this trick works. You go from one finger to the next, then over and back up. I always wished my slinky could go back up the stairs, but it never could. So the way you do this trick is you start in between your thumb and your index finger so that when the chip goes over, it hits the top of your finger in between your knuckles, in between this knuckle and that knuckle. So you can see how it works by just balancing a chip there and seeing how you can kind of get it with the other finger. So you just start with your thumb and your index finger, and then you kind of let go, and the chip falls. If your finger is away from the other finger, then when you touch it, you'll be able to create just enough friction to flick the chip over. And then again, and then again. Now the last one is tough because most people don't have a whole lot of pinky strength, but you're just squeezing the two, so you don't need much. Then your thumb comes from underneath and does all the work. So it goes like that. Another chip trick I want to show you is called the up and over. You start with 3 poker chips, and you put them in your hand, and then you flick it. One to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. The key to this trick is to use 4 fingers well. You want to use your ring finger, your middle finger, your index finger, and your thumb. However, your thumb cannot be responsible for holding the chips at all. So all I'm doing with the thumb is lifting. I'm just lifting. It's staying planted on my index finger. That's the anchor. So my middle finger is not moving at all, and my thumb is using pressure against the index finger to lift it up gently. Once you're able to lift it up a little bit, it can just kind of fall back. I'm not really doing a whole lot of work to guide it back once it's up and over. I'm just putting the slightest amount of pressure from my thumb to my index finger and then pulling it back. So that's how you do some cool poker tricks. And what it will do is it will show players at the table that you're playing with that you have some experience. Actually, before the first time I ever played live poker, I had only been an online player, and I learned some chip tricks and how to move my stack and bet before I ever played live poker. It made me so much more comfortable, and it gave my opponents the feel that I'd played a lot of live poker in the past.